I know some of y'all have been around long enough, at least within the last 3 or 4 years, to kind of see how I- I've evolved with these entity structures in the direction that I went. So everybody probably going to have their own direction to go. If you talk to someone else, they might have a different direction that they take when it comes to setting up a holding company. For example, if you look at I'm just giving y'all some big public examples like Google. Okay, the Google, they put Google and YouTube owned by the same company, and they created Alphabet, and they put those companies under Alphabet, and Alphabet is considered to be a HoldCo. So they did it on the other side. They created YouTube. YouTube was already big. Google is already huge, but they created this other HoldCo. Mark Zuckerberg did the same thing where he already had WhatsApp, he already had Instagram, he already had Facebook. So they created this holding company, Meta, and when they create these HoldCos, again, this is on a, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars with these public companies, but it it's pretty much the same thing conceptually with what we're doing. I'm just of the belief that you need to start that way because most of us never get to $500 billion. So you're gonna wait till you get to 500 billion to set up a whole code. What if you never get there? And all the things that you're gonna be missing just on the come up. And so I reversed that narrative. That was a revelation I had. That was something that I believe I captured. And once I got the revelation, I realized, oh wow, I can create a whole code at the beginning, and then I can just start building this thing out. And then once I start getting some momentum, generating revenue, validating certain business concepts, making money with certain products and services, then I can start stacking under this whole code certain subsidiaries. Okay. So let's go through the 10. My top 10 holdco entity structures. Number one, remember we talked about it last week, is the holding company itself. All right. That's the first one. Now, your holdco entity primarily operates as your parent company. It operates as your parent company. This is the asset manager for all the other assets that it holds. That's the primary purpose of a holding company, to hold assets. And it's not always ownership interest in other businesses. At least on the come up, you might not have 9 other businesses under your holding company. There may be other assets, and that's for another conversation. But we've already talked about that in some of our previous Monday nights, and we got a course on that. There's a whole course that I have inside the Millionaire Blueprint called, which course is that? How to increase your net worth using a holding company. So when you don't have businesses under your hold co and you're just at the beginning stages, you set your holding company up and then you start accumulating these assets. Most of the times, these assets are going to be intellectual. They're not going to be like physical assets like a business if you don't have a business yet. Or it could be a business that is pre-revenue. Either way, okay? Now, under your hold co, or I'm not going to say under it, inside of your holding company, you should also include two different divisions or two different departments that are operating, a R&D division and an M&A division. So the R&D division is really the research and development. You as the owner of the whole co, you should always be in R&D mode. You should always be trying to research and develop. That's why I like to use the holding company as a initial filter. Some of y'all know that I look at the holding company as as the mountaintop. And if I stand at the top of that mountain of the HoldCo, I want to use the holding company on the come up when I'm just getting started. I want to use the holding company as a basis that I stand on. And I want to start parlaying my brand. I want to start leveraging my personality and whatever the other intellectual assets that I have. These are the things that you want to initially utilize your holding company for. So R&D is going to be critical to that, right? So you got R&D, but then you got M&A, and that's a whole new nuance that I think now is the perfect time to introduce the M&A, which is why for the first 4 months of this year, that's all I was talking about to y'all regarding the whole co-deal making, because there's so many businesses that are for sale. There's so many assets that are for sale. If you're not, if your R&D, let me put it this way, if your research and development doesn't include M&A, mergers and acquisitions, if you're not thinking about buying a business and you're just thinking about building a business, you're missing out on opportunities.